So ends the console wars, not with a roar, but a whimper. Microsoft has thrown in the towel, all but declaring Sony the winner and the general gaming public the losers. It's almost poetic in a way. 24 years ago, the war began with the Xbox, released more than a year after its main competition, the PS2, and with a savage uphill battle ahead of it. The first shot it had loaded in its cannon pointed right at Sony, Halo, the game that sold a console and set fanboys against each other for over 2 decades. A Herculean effort worthy of the hallowed halls of gaming Valhalla. And now it's going to PlayStation. Not only is it going to Sony's console, they're remaking the original to go along with it. Mind you, it is Halo Studios, formerly 343, who are doing the work. The studio accused in the past of not even knowing who Master Chief was is going to attempt to rewrite gaming history. After all, that's what a remake essentially is, taking something people loved from the past and attempting to make it better for modern audiences, bringing it into the future. As a lover of retro gaming, I despise this way of thinking. But that's a video for another time. We're attempting to look into the future after all, scrying the far-flung effects of the armistice signed by Sony and Microsoft. Not only have they seemingly ended all hostilities of console exclusives, but they're now working together into the future. Let that sink in for a moment. These two media monoliths are now in cahoots, striking backroom deals and steering the future of this industry without ever asking your opinion on the matter. Don't believe me? 2013. Biggest event of the decade for both Sony and Microsoft. They're both announcing their new consoles, Xbox One and PS4 respectively. Microsoft goes first and stumbles hard. They pitch the Xbox One as a home entertainment system, not primarily a games console. Half their announcement involves talking about TV. But the big thing is a restriction on physical media. Consoles will need to connect to the internet periodically or lock you out of your physical games. Your physical discs can only be installed to a limited number of consoles. It's an open attack on offline play in the second-hand market. It doesn't go down well with fans. As Microsoft stumbles, what does Sony do? They wind up a home run, clear and simple. They attack, no subtlety, no restraint. They call out Microsoft in all but name. No online restrictions, full offline play. Sony supports second-hand games. And this absolute ripper of a promo.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
PlayStation.
Sony wins. Clear knockout. The generation is over before a console even ships. Microsoft is playing defense from the get-go. But Traz, you ask, what does this have to do with the end of the console wars? Well, everything, dear friend. What Microsoft tried to do in 2013 is now becoming the norm. Video games are becoming more digital, from consoles without disk drives to the closing of brick-and-mortar stores across the world. It's in the best interests of publishers and developers to sell digital. This could have all started 10 years earlier if only Sony had been on board. But rather than take the win for the shareholders, Sony smashed it out of the park for its consumers. Not because they liked them, but because they were at war. Microsoft was the enemy, and making the enemy look bad was an easy win. In short, without the fervour of the fanboys, without the console wars, this moment in gaming history never happens. To see the other side of this effect, we need only turn to Nintendo. The Japanese gaming Goliath acts with all intent as if it's running a monopoly on gaming. Over the last years, they've announced more than their fair share of controversial changes, most surrounding the Switch too. From game cartridges with no games on them to their batshit crazy lawsuit against Palworld, Nintendo's perfectly happy to do whatever they want, regardless of what their players think. Where else will you get such beloved titles as Zelda, Pokemon and Mario? They know the value of their first-party IPs, they've invested into them, and they're going to reap those rewards for years to come. If you don't like how they do it, too bad. This is how one of the largest gaming companies in the world acts when no one else in the industry is calling them out for their actions. So what does this mean for the future? Well, with the death of the console exclusives, your choice in console doesn't really matter anymore. The company you support isn't funneling resources into first-party studios in the hopes of the next Halo or The Last of Us. Now they're just products that can be played by anyone so they can sell to everyone. Microsoft has already announced its future plans. Now that it's free from war on the gaming front, it's off to fight TikTok and the film industry, the latter of which is already dwarfed by the video games industry, but whatever. And Sony? Who knows? They certainly aren't saying. Maybe they'll try and slay their own Goliath in Nintendo. Good luck with that. In all seriousness, I find myself concerned for the future of video games, now that 2 of the 3 major console providers are no longer bitter foes. Do you trust giant corporations to play fair now that their most important conversations are all going to take place behind closed doors rather than across the battlefield? Anyway, thanks for hearing me out. I'm Traz for Immortal Gaming, reminding you all that immortality awaits.